House Republicans have unveiled their idea for a simpler tax code that benefits the middle class. It's sure to be popular with a lot of taxpayers, but not necessarily with special interests pulling strings in Washington. And some Democrats say the plan is a giveaway to wealthy and corporate interests. I asked President Trump some tax questions I thought you might like to ask. In 2018, will I, or most Americans anyway, be able to fill out their taxes on a postcard, do you think?
Well, I do think so. I do think so. And I actually had one over here someplace, but I won't show it to you. I won't even bother.
I want to see it.
Oh, well, I don't think I have it in here now.
Do you have
That's
it?
too bad, but
okay.
It's too bad. Does anybody have one? But we have literally a one-page form.
Smaller than this?
Yeah, about half the size of that. And most people will be able to do that. Most people will be able to fill out their taxes on a very small form.
You know, Democrats and Republicans have told me and others behind the scenes that almost every decision made in Washington is not really necessarily about the people. It's about the interests that are lobbying them and pressing for different measures. Who is it that's fighting for a piece of this tax reform, maybe fighting against the interests of ordinary Americans?
The swamp, Sharyl. It's the swamp. It's unbelievable. Every single deduction, everything there, people are fighting for, right or wrong. I mean, in some cases, it's a good thing that they're fighting. Other cases, everybody knows it's wrong, but they're fighting nevertheless because people benefit by it. But it's a middle-class tax cut. It's a massive tax cut. It's also reform. It's also simplification. But more than anything else, it's a tremendous tax cut that's going to be great for the middle class and great for jobs and business. And when I say great for business, I'm doing that because of jobs.
Mortgage interest deduction. After all the negotiations, do you think it stays?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, we will be talking about certain elements, and we're going to see. We're going through a very complicated process right now. There are many, many things such as that right now, totally up in the air. We're going to see. You know, the Senate has something to say about it, too. I can tell you this. The House has been amazing. I have watched what they've done. And we're looking to make it as final as possible. But the Senate is going to come out with their version, and then everybody's going to sit in a room, and hopefully it's going to happen. And I think it will happen because people know we're one of the highest taxed nations in the world. We're not competitive with other nations. And now we're going to be among the lower taxed nations. I'd like to say it's the lowest, but we can't get there yet. We may get there in the future.
It sounds like there are odds that even though the House has gotten their tax plan out there, maybe this doesn't go through. If the Senate fights with the House and Republicans don't all get on board.
I don't think so. I'll tell you what, I've been doing a lot of this. We've actually had a lot of bills passed despite what people think. I think I heard the number 70, and it's almost a record. And, you know, if you listen to the fake media, the fake news from some of these people, like CNN, they are so false, and so many different networks. I mean, the level of false reporting to me, somebody said, what's the biggest surprise? The amount of dishonesty of the press. But if you listen to a lot of the media, you know, I didn't do well with bills passed, meaning Congress, meaning Senate and House. Well, the fact is that we're almost at the top of the pack. We have, I think it's approximately 70 bills have been passed, and many of them very important. In addition to that, we have Justice Gorsuch, who is fantastic. We're putting in tremendous numbers of federal judges, which is the great unsung thing that we're doing. We're opening up the regulations. Now we're going for the massive tax cuts. I mean, we've done really a lot, and I'm very proud of it. We've had, I think, a great 9 months.
The current head of the IRS, John Attkisson, gave false information to Congress in the targeting of conservatives, disobeyed a federal judge's order to provide documents, presided over the IRS when subpoenaed documents were destroyed and taxpayers were hacked, awarded a lucrative contract to Equifax after the credit bureau failed to protect the credit of 145 million Americans. Why is he still the head of the IRS?
Well, a lot of people have been asking that question from long previous to me. This was taken a long time ago. We're just picking now a new head of the IRS, and he will be looking at that, I'm sure. But I have just made my decision as to who it is. It'll be announced very shortly, and I'm sure they'll be looking at that.
You can announce it now.
I could do that, exactly. Well, we'll be probably another short period of time, we'll be announcing really a terrific person will be heading up the IRS. So they'll take a look at everything.
Attkisson is retiring. Is that right?
Or well, actually, he had a term.
He had a term. Okay.
And his term ended someplace like within the last week or so. And he will leave as per the term. You know, that was not one that was under my purview. He had a term, he went up to a certain point, and then he leaves. We have a number of them. They were appointed by President Obama. but they didn't end in January. They end in a term. His term ended in October or November something, and that's when he leaves.